Can your Jacksonville Jaguars earn the first overall seed in the AFC playoffs in 2023? Welcome into Duval Daily, presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan DeLugo. Thank you so much for tuning in. That is the topic we will be covering today. The one seed, is it a realistic possibility for the Jaguars? We talked about this about a month ago. Thought with 6 games left, it was a good time to take a look at the AFC playoff picture once again. The Jaguars, they're currently tied for second in the AFC and first in the AFC South at 7-3. The Chiefs are technically ahead of them with the tiebreaker. So the Jaguars are in third place in the AFC right now. Again, we did this exercise earlier in the year, but 6 games left. 6 big contests left in the regular season for your Jacksonville Jaguars. Time to look at this AFC playoff picture. If you enjoyed the content, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. You can also check out genjag.com/shop, pick up some new Duval gear. So 6 games left. Do they have what it takes to put themselves in position for the one seed? I think from a record perspective, like I said, they're behind only the Ravens, who are 8-3. They play the Ravens on Sunday Night Football in Week 15 in Jacksonville, so they can certainly jump the Ravens there, gain a game on them, and gain the tiebreaker against them with the head-to-head matchup. Looking at the Chiefs, who again are in second place with the same record as the Jaguars, they hold the tiebreaker against the Jags. The Jaguars, in any scenario that they want to earn the one seed, that would involve them having more wins and less losses than the Chiefs at the end of the year, because if these two teams end up tied, the Jaguars will not win that tiebreaker. So, losing that game to the Chiefs early in the year, it is starting to look like a game that if the Jaguars were just able to put up another touchdown, another field goal, and win that football game, that they would have put themselves in much better position to potentially earn the one seed, but that's where they are at right now. Is it possible that the Jaguars are able to jump the Chiefs in the record books? It's possible, yes. The Jaguars, they're going to be favored in every game that they play from here on out, outside of potentially the Ravens contest. So the Jaguars will be favored in 5 of these 6 games. They're favored against the Texans this weekend and will likely be favored against the Bengals, who have an injured quarterback. Browns have an injured quarterback. Buccaneers, Panthers, and Titans. So I think 5-1 is what the book would probably predict for the Jaguars over the last 6, which would get them to 13-4. If they go 6-0, which I do think is possible, because the Jaguars, we know they can get hot under Doug Peterson. We saw it last year. We've seen it this year. And we know that the Jaguars haven't quite hit their stride on offense yet. So for me, I do think it's possible they go 5-1 or even 6-0 down the stretch. 6-0 would get them to 14-3. Again, the Chiefs, though, they will be favored in every game that they play from here on out. So to jump them won't be easy. You'll need the Chiefs to, kind of hit a little bit of a rough patch, and they might have just now. They've lost 2 of their last 3. Of course, the last game was to the Philadelphia Eagles, who have only 1 loss on the year. They're one of the best teams in football, no doubt about it. So I do think banking on the Chiefs going on a little bit of a rough patch, a rough stretch, maybe not the most likely thing in the world, but it is possible. The Jaguars are also trying to fend off the Texans within their own division. Massive AFC South showdown in Houston this weekend between the two clubs. The Jaguars, they've got to prove they can beat the Texans. The Texans came into Jacksonville, beat the Jags 37-17. But if the Jags can go into Houston and beat the Texans, they'll hold off the Texans, who are 1 game behind them, and vault themselves into a much better situation. The Jaguars would then be 8-3. The Texans would only be 6-4. And I think the Jaguars would have that clear path to winning the AFC South at the very least. But again, looking at the one seed, the Jaguars also share a 7-3 record with the Browns and Dolphins. They play the Browns, which definitely gives them an opportunity to get the leg up against the Browns, who, despite not having their quarterback, they're still a very dangerous team with an incredible defense and plenty of talent throughout that roster. As for the Dolphins, the Jaguars currently hold the tiebreaker against them. They do not play the Dolphins this year. The Dolphins, I think they're trending in the right direction, but they have yet to beat a team above 500. And down the stretch, their last 3 weeks, they faced the Cowboys, Ravens, and Bills, all of whom are above 500. And the Bills obviously handed them a big loss earlier in the season. So all in all, I do think the 1 seed is a legitimate possibility for the Jaguars right now, but it will take the Chiefs falling off just a bit down the stretch, losing at least a game or two, and the Jaguars winning pretty much everything that they have ahead of them. The Jags are going to have to win against good teams like the Texans, the Ravens, and even the Browns, who are a good team despite not having their quarterback. The 2 or 3 seed for me feels like the more realistic outcome. And if the Jaguars don't beat the Texans this weekend, going on the road for wild card round becomes a real possibility and potentially probability. The Texans have an easier home stretch than the Jaguars do over these final 6 weeks. They have an easier stretch of games. They are, not a division champion from 2022. The Jaguars have a first place schedule. The Texans do not. So for me, I do think that this is as close to a must-win game for the Jaguars if you want to win the division in 2023 as you can have. Week 12, a massive matchup for the Jaguars this weekend in Houston. If they can go in there and prove that they are better than the Texans and, hand the Texans another loss, get them to 6-4, get yourselves to 8-3, you put yourself in position to compete for that 1 seed down the stretch. But again, it will take the Chiefs falling off a bit. It will take beating the Ravens and beating the Browns. So we'll see how it all plays out for your Jacksonville Jaguars. I think it's going to be a super exciting 6-game stretch, and you obviously hope that they can earn, at the very least, the division championship, which would get them a home game in the wild card round. So we'll see how it plays out. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. Hit me up on Twitter at Jordan DeLugo. Follow Generation Jaguar at Generation Jag. Hit that like and subscribe button. Check out genjag.com/shop. Pick up some new Duval gear. Y'all have a good one.